Anthropic shipped its newest frontier models on a Monday and had to switch them off by Friday, not because they broke, but because Washington told them to. On June 12, 2026, Anthropic suspended access to Claude Fable 5 and Mythos 5 worldwide, 3 days after launch, following a US government export control directive. The interesting part isn't the suspension, it's what this tells us about how the next phase of AI deployment is going to work. Quick setup, so we're on the same page. Anthropic launched Fable 5 and Mythos 5 on June 9th. Fable 5 is the safety-hardened public model. Mythos 5, per Anthropic's own framing, is the same underlying model with safeguards lifted for trusted partners. 3 days later, on June 12th, the US government issued an export control directive citing national security concerns. The order required Anthropic to block all foreign nationals from accessing the systems. Anthropic's response was to disable the models for everyone, not just foreign nationals, to ensure compliance. Reporting links the directive to a suspected jailbreak technique discovered against Fable 5. Anthropic maintains the vulnerabilities are minor. The US government evidently did not agree. Let's start with what's genuinely new here. Export controls on AI models, as a concept, are not new. We've had chip export restrictions for years, and there's been talk about model weights for almost as long. But this is the first time I'm aware of that a US directive has forced a frontier lab to pull a deployed, paying customer-facing model off the market midweek. Not a delay, not a region block. A full shutdown for everyone, including US enterprise customers who had been building against it for 72 hours. Worth knowing, the trigger appears to be a specific vulnerability, not a general policy shift, which means the bar for government intervention is now a researcher found a jailbreak we don't like the look of, not a new category of risk has emerged. That's a much lower bar than most people building on these APIs were planning around. Now, the structure of the Fable Mythos split is the part I want to sit with. Anthropic is being unusually explicit about something the industry has danced around for a while. There are two versions of the model. Fable 5 ships with the full safety stack. Mythos 5 is the same model with safeguards lifted for trusted partners. That's not a separate training run, it's a configuration. The implication is that the safety layer is something you can turn off, and somebody, government, large enterprise, internal red teams, already has the version with it off. The jailbreak story matters here because if a public jailbreak makes Fable 5 behave more like Mythos 5, then the distinction the company has been selling is, in practical terms, narrower than the marketing suggests. I don't think that's a scandal. I think it's the honest shape of how these systems work, and Anthropic is one of the few labs willing to name it. Here's the catch for anyone building on Anthropic's stack. Your dependency surface just got wider. It used to be, will the model be available? Will the price change? Will the rate limit hold? Now add, will a government directive pull this model entirely with effectively no notice? Because of a vulnerability your application has nothing to do with. Anthropic disabled the models for all customers. That's the operative phrase. If you had a production workflow on Fable 5 on June 11th, it stopped working on June 12th. And the reason had nothing to do with your code, your contract, or your region. The blast radius of an export control decision is now the entire customer base of a frontier lab. That's a new risk to price in. Stepping back for a second, the other thing worth naming is the asymmetry. The directive required blocking foreign nationals. Anthropic responded by blocking everyone. From a compliance standpoint, that's the safe move. You don't want to be the company that gets access control slightly wrong and ends up on the front page of a Commerce Department enforcement action. From a product standpoint, it's a tell. It says the cost of fine-grained, identity-verified access control at the model layer is high enough that a full kill switch was the better operational choice, at least for a few days. If you're thinking about where AI infrastructure is going to grow next, identity, attestation, and nationality aware access control just got bumped up the list. Somebody is going to build that layer because no lab wants to do this again. One concrete thing to take away. If you're building on a frontier model API right now, write down what your fallback is when the model disappears for reasons outside your control, not the vendor's outage page, an actual policy level shutdown. Pick a secondary provider or an open weights model you can host and validate that your prompts and evals run against it. Budget half a day. The Fable 5 suspension is a preview, not an outlier, and the teams that already have a fallback will spend the next one of these shipping while everyone else is in an incident channel. That's what I've got on this one. If you've already built a model fallback layer that handles this cleanly, tell me in the comments what's in it. I'm collecting patterns for a follow-up. See you in the next one.